The bass vibrated through the crystalline floor of Nebula's Edge, the most exclusive interspecies nightclub in New Constantinople. Ethan Cole nursed his synthetic whiskey, watching holographic dancers phase in and out of reality, while his friends argued over their latest stupid bet. "Come on, Ethan. You've lost the last 5 wagers." Jake laughed, his augmented eyes glowing with mischief. "Time to redeem yourself, buddy." "What's the bet this time?" Ethan asked, already regretting the question. At 23, he should have outgrown these juvenile games. But here he was, a graduate student in interstellar history, still letting his friends goad him into ridiculous challenges. "Simple," Maria grinned, gesturing toward the VIP section where various alien dignitaries mingled. "Kiss an alien, any alien, on the lips." "That's it," Ethan raised an eyebrow. After the Treaty of Unified Worlds 15 years ago, human-alien interactions had become commonplace. Hell, his xenobiology professor was a crystalline from the Andromeda sector. "Not just any alien," Jake clarified, his smile turning wicked. "Her." Ethan followed Jake's pointing finger to a secluded booth where 4 figures sat in shadows. Even in the dim lighting, he could make out their distinctive features: pale, luminescent skin that seemed to glow from within, eyes that shifted between crimson and violet, and an otherworldly grace that made every movement look like a carefully choreographed dance. "Sanguinari, the vampire species from the Crimson Nebula." "You're insane," Ethan breathed. "Do you know who they are? That's diplomatic immunity territory right there." "Scared," Maria teased. The great Ethan Cole, who once streaked through the Galactic Senate gardens on a dare, is afraid of a little kiss. "There's a difference between public nudity and potentially causing an interstellar incident," Ethan protested. But his friends were already chanting his name. The alcohol in his system wasn't helping his judgment. Neither was the way the youngest of the Sanguinari kept glancing in his direction. She looked about his age, with silver hair that cascaded like liquid mercury, and features that were hauntingly beautiful in that alien way that made his heart skip. 100 credits says you can't do it," Jake pushed. 200, Maria added. Ethan stood up, straightening his jacket. "You're all going to owe me therapy money when this goes wrong." He walked across the club with more confidence than he felt, weaving between floating tables and anti-grav dancers. The closer he got to the Sanguinari booth, the more he noticed details: the subtle fangs when one of them smiled, the way their skin seemed to pulse with an inner light, the predatory grace in their movements. The youngest one noticed him approaching first. Her eyes widened slightly, shifting from deep crimson to a softer violet. Up close, she was even more striking, with delicate features that somehow managed to be both alien and achingly beautiful. "Good evening," Ethan said, surprised his voice came out steady. "I'm Ethan Cole, and I'm about to do something incredibly stupid." Before he could lose his nerve, before his brain could fully process the magnitude of his mistake, he leaned down and kissed her. The moment their lips touched, everything changed. A surge of energy shot through him, electric and ancient. Her lips were cool against his, tasting of starlight and something metallic he couldn't identify. For a heartbeat, that lasted an eternity. The club disappeared. He saw flashes of crimson skies, heard whispers in a language that predated human civilization, felt a connection that went beyond physical touch. Then reality crashed back. The Sanguinari girl's eyes had gone wide, glowing bright violet. The 3 older Sanguinari at the table had risen to their feet, their expressions ranging from shock to something that might have been amusement or fury. "Do you have any idea what you've just done?" the eldest asked, her voice carrying harmonics that made Ethan's bones vibrate. "I kissed your daughter-sister," Ethan stammered, acutely aware that the entire club had gone silent. "You've initiated the bonding ritual of Sanguinar," she said, stepping forward. The crowd parted around her like water. "You've claimed my youngest daughter, Salira, as your intended mate. Ethan's brain short-circuited. I've what now? Salira touched her lips, staring at him with an expression he couldn't read. Mother, he's human. He couldn't have known. Ignorance of our customs doesn't negate the ritual, another sister interrupted, her tone sharp as broken glass. The kiss was given freely, received without rejection. The old laws are clear. Hold on, Ethan raised his hands. This was just a stupid bet. I didn't mean to claim anyone or start any rituals. Can't we just pretend it didn't happen? The eldest Sanguinari circled him slowly, and Ethan had the distinct feeling of being evaluated by an apex predator. A bet? You say you kissed my daughter, initiated a sacred bonding ritual that hasn't been performed in 3 centuries. For a bet? When you put it like that, it sounds really bad, Ethan admitted. Mother, please. Salira stood, and Ethan noticed she was taller than him by several inches. He meant no disrespect. Human customs are different. Different or not, the ritual has been witnessed, the second sister said. She had the same silver hair as Salira, but wore it in an elaborate style that suggested military rank. The homeworld will demand satisfaction. Satisfaction. Ethan's voice cracked. What kind of satisfaction? The mother smiled, revealing fangs that were definitely not just for show. You must prove yourself worthy of the bond you've claimed. 3 trials, as dictated by our laws. Succeed, and you may court my daughter properly. Fail. I die, Ethan guessed. Death would be merciful, the third sister said cheerfully. Failure means you'll be exiled from all Sanguinari territories, your name struck from diplomatic records, and you'll carry the mark of shame that will be visible to every psychic species in the galaxy. But more immediately, the mother continued, you'll need to explain this to your government, and ours. As if on cue, Ethan's neural implant buzzed with an emergency alert. The Terran Embassy, the Galactic Council, 3 news agencies, his academic advisor, even his mother. Somehow. This is impossible, Ethan muttered. It was just a kiss. One stupid, impulsive kiss. A kiss that activated a billion-year-old genetic marker in our species, Salira said quietly. She moved closer to him, and he caught her scent, ozone and copper and something floral. I felt it too. The connection. You did. Ethan looked at her. Really looked at her for the first time. Beyond the alien features, he saw uncertainty, curiosity, and something else. Interest. The bonding ritual can only be initiated if both parties are compatible on a molecular level, the mother explained. The fact that it activated at all means. Means what? Ethan asked, though he was afraid of the answer. It means you're the first human in recorded history to be genetically compatible with a Sanguinari, the military sister said. Do you have any idea what this means for our species, for the Alliance? Ethan's friends had pushed through the crowd, their faces pale. Dude, Jake whispered. What did you do? I won the bet, Ethan said weakly. You all owe me 300 credits. The mother laughed, a sound like wind chimes in a thunderstorm. Oh, young human, you've won far more than a bet. You've won the attention of the entire Sanguinari matriarchy. I am Matriarch Velis of the 3rd Bloodline. These are my daughters, Commander Soraya, Dr. Evalara, and Salira, whom you've so boldly claimed. I didn't claim, Ethan started, but Velis raised a hand. Tomorrow, you'll report to the Terran Embassy. We'll discuss the terms of your trials. Until then, she gestured to her daughters. You're under our protection. There are many who won't be pleased by tonight's events. Protection from what? Ethan asked. His answer came in the form of a plasma bolt that sizzled past his ear, leaving a smoking hole in the wall behind him. From that, Soraya said calmly, producing a weapon from nowhere and returning fire. Everyone down. The club erupted into chaos. Ethan found himself pushed to the floor with Salira shielding him, her body surprisingly strong. More plasma fire lit up the darkness, and he could hear screaming in multiple languages. "Who's shooting at us?" Ethan yelled over the noise. "Purists," Celera answered, her hand somehow finding his in the chaos. "Those who believe the bloodlines should remain separate. Your kiss just made you the most hunted human in the galaxy." "Great. Perfect. Exactly how I wanted to spend my Friday night." Despite the danger, despite the insanity of the situation, Celera laughed. "You're taking this better than I expected." "I'm in shock," Ethan admitted. "Ask me again when people stop trying to kill me." The firefight ended as quickly as it began. Soraya stood over several unconscious attackers, not even breathing hard. Evelara was treating wounded bystanders with technology Ethan didn't recognize. Velis hadn't moved from her spot, as if plasma bolts were beneath her notice. "The first trial has begun," Velis announced, looking directly at Ethan. "Survival. You have until tomorrow's summit to stay alive. My daughters will escort you to safety." "All of them?" Ethan asked, noting the way Soraya was glaring at him. "All of them," Velis confirmed. "Consider it a chance to know your potential new family."
"Mother,"
Celera protested.
"this is unnecessary. He's clearly not prepared."
"Which is why he needs protection," Velis interrupted.
"Unless you'd prefer to see him dead before the trials officially begin."
Celera's jaw clenched, but she nodded.
"Of course not."
"Then it's settled." Velis waved her hand, and a portal opened in the air, revealing what looked like a luxury apartment. "Our embassy's safe house. You'll stay there tonight." Ethan looked at his friends, who were being questioned by club security. Then at the Sanguinari sisters, each beautiful and terrifying in their own way. Finally at Celera, whose hand was still holding his.
"I don't suppose I could just apologize and we forget this whole
thing." He tried one more time. "You kissed me in front of 300 witnesses," Celera said. "The ritual is binding." "Right, binding." Ethan took a deep breath.
Any advice for someone who just accidentally proposed to alien royalty?
"Yes," Evelara said, speaking for the first time since the attack. Her voice was softer than her sister's, almost musical. "Don't die." "Helpful," Ethan muttered. As he stepped through the portal into an uncertain future, one thought kept running through his mind. Jake and Maria were never picking the dares again. The safe house was impossibly luxurious, with walls that shifted between transparent aluminum and solid matter at will. The view showed New Constantinople's skyline, with its mixture of human architecture and alien designs that defied Euclidean geometry. "Drink this." Evelara handed him a glass of something blue and glowing. "It'll help with the shock." "Is it safe for humans?" Ethan asked.
"Would it matter if it wasn't?"
Soraya challenged. "You've already thrown caution to the void."
"Soraya," Celera warned, "he's under our protection."
"Because he kissed you without permission," Soraya shot back. "In my day, that would earn him a plasma blade to the chest." "Your day was 300 years ago," Evelara said mildly. "Times change." Ethan sipped the drink. It tasted like mint and electricity, but it did help clear his head. "Can someone please explain what I've actually gotten myself into? Pretend I know nothing about Sanguinari culture."
"You don't have to pretend,"
Soraya muttered. Celera sat across from him, her movements graceful despite her obvious agitation. "The bonding ritual is ancient, predating our recorded history. When a Sanguinari finds their genetic match, a kiss activates dormant markers in our DNA. It's meant to ensure the strongest possible offspring." "But I'm human," Ethan pointed out. "Different species."
"That's what makes this unprecedented,"
Evelara explained, her scientific curiosity evident. "Our species have never been compatible before. The fact that the ritual activated suggests either a mutation or humans and Sanguinari share a common ancestor," she finished, "which would rewrite everything we know about galactic evolution." "No pressure," Ethan said weakly. The political implications are staggering, Soraya added. A successful bonding between human and sanguinari could either usher in a new era of cooperation or tear the alliance apart, Solara finished. There are factions on both sides who believe in species purity, like the ones who shot at us. That was just the beginning, Soraya said. By tomorrow, every supremacist group in the galaxy will know your name. Ethan stood up, pacing to the window. The city below looked peaceful, but he now knew better. What are these trials I have to face? Traditionally, 3 tests to prove worthiness, Solara explained. Strength, wisdom, and heart. I'm guessing strength doesn't mean arm wrestling. Combat, Soraya confirmed with what might have been anticipation. Usually to first blood, sometimes to death. Wonderful, and wisdom. A challenge of intellect and judgment, Evalara said, often involving complex negotiations or solving ancient riddles. And heart. The sisters exchanged glances. That varies, Solara said carefully. It's meant to test the depth of the bond, the authenticity of the connection. But we don't have a connection, Ethan protested. We just met. I kissed you on a dare. And yet the ritual activated, Solara reminded him. That doesn't happen by accident. Ethan turned to face her. In the apartment's soft lighting, she looked less alien and more beautiful. Different. Yes, but beautiful in a way that made his chest tight. Why aren't you angry? He asked. I basically forced you into this situation. Did you? Solara tilted her head. I could have stopped you. Sanguinari reflexes are superior to human. I saw you approaching, heard your friend's laughter, deduced your intent. I could have moved, spoken, raised a hand. I didn't. Why not? She was quiet for a moment, then smiled slightly. Would you believe curiosity? We've been on Earth for 15 years, and in all that time, no human has been bold enough to approach us so directly. Most fear us. Maybe they're smarter than me. Maybe, she agreed. Or maybe you're exactly what we need. What's that supposed to mean? Before she could answer, alarms blared through the apartment. The walls turned opaque as defensive systems activated. We have company, Soraya announced, checking her weapons. 30 life signs converging on our position. How did they find us? Ethan asked. The bond, Evalara explained quickly. Now that it's activated, certain species can track the psychic resonance. We need to move. Where? The embassy, Solara decided. It's neutral ground, protected by galactic law. Unless they don't care about laws, Soraya pointed out. Another explosion shook the building. Through the window, Ethan could see figures in black armor scaling the walls, defying gravity with technology he didn't recognize. Void hunters, Evalara breathed. Mother wasn't exaggerating the danger. Can we fight them? Ethan asked, surprised by his own calm. We can, Soraya said, a fierce grin spreading across her face. The question is, can you? I'm about to find out, aren't I? Solara pressed something into his hand. A weapon, sleek and alien. Point and squeeze. It's bio-coded to my signature, but the bond should let you use it. Should? Only one way to find out. The door exploded inward. Ethan raised the weapon instinctively, squeezing the trigger. A beam of silver light shot out, catching the first attacker's center mass. They dissolved into particles of light. Did I just kill someone? Stun setting, Solara assured him. They'll reconstitute in a few hours. Oh, good. I'm only mostly committing assault. Despite the situation, she laughed. You're handling this remarkably well for someone whose biggest concern an hour ago was a bar bet. I'm compartmentalizing, Ethan admitted, firing at another attacker. I'll have a complete breakdown later. The fight was brutal, but brief. The sisters moved like synchronized dancers, their weapons creating a deadly light show. Ethan mostly tried to stay alive and not shoot anyone on his own side. When the dust settled, 26 attackers lay unconscious, The other 4 had fled. Not bad for a human, Soraya admitted grudgingly. You didn't panic.
Oh, I'm panicking, Ethan assured her. I'm just doing it quietly.
We need to reach the embassy, Evalara said, already working on opening another portal. There will be more. Why? Ethan asked. What makes me such a threat? The sisters exchanged those meaningful glances again.
Tell him, Salira said. He deserves to know.
Veles stepped through the portal, as if she'd been waiting for her cue. Very well. The truth, Mr. Cole, is that you're not the first human to catch a sanguinari's interest. You're simply the first where the bonding ritual activated. Meaning our species are dying, Veles said bluntly. Our genetic diversity has stagnated. We need fresh blood, literally and figuratively. We've tested compatibility with dozens of species. Nothing worked. Until you. So I'm, what, a genetic lottery winner?
More than that, Evalara added. The strength of the bond suggests you might carry markers we've never seen before. You could be the key to our species' survival.
No pressure, Ethan repeated, feeling the weight of galactic expectations crushing down on him. Which is why the purists want you dead, Soraya explained. They'd rather see our species fade than dilute the bloodlines. And my government, how are they going to react?
That remains to be seen,
Veles said. Some will see opportunity. Others will see threat. You've become a political flashpoint. Mr. Cole. All from one kiss.
All from one kiss,
Salira agreed. She moved closer, and Ethan caught that scent again. I'm sorry you were pulled into this, but I'm not sorry it happened.
You're not?
No. Because now I know we're not alone. That there's hope for my people. She smiled, fangs and all. Even if that hope comes in the form of a graduate student who takes terrible bets. Hey, I'll have you know I'm excellent at my studies, Ethan protested. It's just my decision-making skills that need work. Then you'll fit right in with this family, Evalara said dryly. We have a long history of impulsive choices.
Speak for yourself, Soraya objected. My choices are always calculated.
Like the time you challenged the entire crystalline fleet to single combat, Veles asked mildly. That was justified. As the family bickered, Ethan felt a strange sense of belonging, which was insane. He'd known them for less than 2 hours, was being hunted by multiple factions, and faced trials that would probably kill him. But watching Salira laugh at her sister's argument, seeing the way Veles watched over them all with fond exasperation, feeling the warmth of unexpected acceptance, maybe his drunk decision hadn't been so terrible after all.
The embassy is ready, Evalara announced. We should go before...
Another alarm. This time, Ethan's neural implant identified the source Terran military. Your government wants to talk, Veles observed. This should be interesting. Can't we just run away? Ethan asked hopefully. Find a nice quiet planet where no one wants to kill or study me. Where would be the fun in that? Salira asked, taking his hand again.
Besides, you started this with a bet. Are you really going to fold now?
Ethan looked at her, at her sisters, at the matriarch who could probably kill him with a thought. Then, at the military dropships converging on their position.
You know what, you're right.
He squeezed Salira's hand. I've come this far. Might as well see how deep this rabbit hole goes. That's the spirit, Soraya approved. You might survive the trials after all.
Assuming we survive the night,
Evalara added helpfully. As they stepped through the portal, toward an uncertain future, Ethan had one last thought. He was definitely making Jake and Maria pay for therapy. A lot of therapy. The Terran embassy looked like a fortress pretending to be a diplomatic building. Its walls shifted between transparent and opaque states, revealing glimpses of military-grade shield generators and weapon systems that definitely violated several peace treaties. Charming, Ethan muttered as their group was escorted through 7 different security checkpoints. Really says we come in peace. Your species has always been paranoid, Soraya observed. Though, given recent events, perhaps not paranoid enough. The meeting room they were finally ushered into was dominated by a holographic display, showing real-time news feeds from across the galaxy. Every single one featured the same story: human student initiates, ancient sanguinary bonding ritual, alliance in crisis. Mr. Cole, a woman in a severe black suit stood as they entered. I'm Director Sarah Hayworth, Terran Diplomatic Corps. We need to talk. That's generally why people have meetings, Ethan said, exhaustion making him snippy. Hayworth's eye twitched. Do you have any idea what you've done? Kissed a beautiful alien woman on a dare and accidentally started an interstellar incident. Ethan dropped into a chair. Yeah, I'm caught up. This isn't a joke, General Morrison growled from across the table. The man looked like he'd been carved from granite and disapproved of everything softer. You've compromised our entire diplomatic position by being genetically compatible with another species, Ethan shot back. Sorry, my DNA didn't check with you first. Enough, Velis commanded, and even the general fell silent. We're here to discuss solutions, not assign blame. The solution is simple, Morrison said. We declare the whole thing a misunderstanding, cultural confusion. The boy didn't know what he was doing. The ritual has been witnessed and recorded, Veles interrupted. To deny it now would be to declare the sanguinary laws meaningless. Is that really the message Earth wants to send? Better than letting some college kid represent our entire species in alien death trials, Morrison countered. I'm right here, Ethan reminded them. And they're not death trials, just regular trials, with a high chance of death, totally different. Celira's lips quirked at his sarcasm. She'd positioned herself between him and the humans, a gesture that wasn't lost on anyone. The fact remains, Hayworth said carefully, that Mr. Cole has no diplomatic training, no combat experience, and no understanding of sanguinary culture. Sending him to these trials would be following the laws we all agreed to, Evalara interjected. The same laws that protect Earth ships in sanguinary space, that allow your colonies to mine our border asteroids, that maintain the peace we've all benefited from. But surely there must be some precedent for substitution, Hayworth pressed. A champion, perhaps? There is not, Velis said flatly. The one who initiates the bond must complete the trials. No exceptions. Then, we're stuck. Morrison slammed his hand on the table. This kid is going to get himself killed and take our alliance with him. Thanks for the vote of confidence, Ethan said, really feeling the human solidarity here. You want solidarity, Morrison leaned forward. You kissed an alien vampire princess in a nightclub because your drunk buddies dared you to. You're not a hero, Cole. You're a screw-up who's about to cost us everything. The words stung because they weren't entirely wrong. But before Ethan could respond, Celira stood, her presence suddenly filling the room. A screw-up, she asked, her voice dangerously soft. This screw-up fought off trained void hunters an hour after learning about the bond. He adapted to sanguinary weapon technology instantly. He faced death with humor and courage. Her eyes blazed violet. Which is more than I can say for anyone else at this table. Celira, Velis warned. No. Mother. They need to hear this. Celira turned back to the humans. You see Ethan as a liability because he doesn't fit your perfect diplomatic mold. But the galaxy doesn't need another politician. It needs someone genuine. Someone who acts from the heart rather than calculation. The heart doesn't win wars, Morrison said. No, Soraya agreed, surprising everyone. But it does forge alliances that prevent them. And like it or not, this human has already shown more spine than half the ambassadors I've dealt with. You're defending him, Evalara asked her sister. I'm acknowledging reality, Soraya corrected. The bond is formed. The trials will happen. We can waste time arguing, or we can prepare him to survive. Hayworth pulled up a holographic display. Fine. Let's talk practicalities. The first trial is in 36 hours. Combat. You said, traditionally held in the Arena of Stars, Veles confirmed. A neutral ground where gravity, atmosphere, and other conditions can be adjusted to prevent either species from having an advantage. And his opponent. That will be decided by the Crimson Council. Could be any warrior from our space. Could be a champion from another species who opposes the bonding. Wonderful, Ethan muttered. Any chance they'll pick someone my size who fights fair? No, all three sisters said simultaneously. The trials aren't meant to be fair, Veles explained. They're meant to test worthiness. If you were sanguinari, you'd have spent decades preparing for this possibility. But I'm not sanguinari. I'm a history major who spends most of his time reading about dead civilizations. Then, perhaps, Evalera suggested thoughtfully, we should lean into that rather than against it. What do you mean? Hayworth asked. Traditional sanguinari training won't help him. He'll never match our warriors physically. But humans have something we don't: unpredictability. Your species survived not through strength, but adaptability. She's right. Ethan sat up straighter. I've studied enough military history to know that the underdog wins by changing the rules, not playing by them. This isn't one of your term papers, Morrison warned. No, but it's not that different either. Ethan's mind was racing now. Every species has patterns, assumptions about how combat works. What if instead of trying to fight like a sanguinari, I fight like a human? Dirty. You mean, Soraya said with what might have been approval. Creative, Ethan corrected. There's a difference. Is there? Solera asked, amused. Absolutely. Dirty implies breaking rules. Creative means using the rules in ways no one expects. This is all theoretical, Hayworth interjected. You still need practical training. Then give it to me. Ethan stood. 36 hours. Fine. I want your best combat instructors. Full access to the military database on alien fighting styles. And whatever performance enhancers are legal under treaty law. You're serious about this, Morrison said, reassessing him. A few hours ago, I was planning to spend my weekend writing a paper on pre-contact Europa colonization. Now I'm apparently the first human to bond with alien royalty. Ethan met the general's eyes. So, yes, I'm serious. Because if I'm going to die in an alien arena, I'm going down swinging. The boy has spirit, Veles murmured to her daughters. Perhaps my sensors weren't malfunctioning after all. What sensors? Ethan asked. Nothing you need concern yourself with yet. Veles deflected. General Morrison, Director Hayworth, do we have an accord? Will Earth support its citizen in the trials? Hayworth and Morrison exchanged looks. Finally, Hayworth nodded. We don't have much choice, but there are conditions. Such as full transparency. Everything about these trials, the bonding process, all of it goes through official channels. No secret alien rituals. Agreed, within reason, Veles said. Some aspects of our culture must remain private. And if he wins, Morrison asked, what happens to this bond? Then Ethan and Solira enter a formal courtship period, Veles explained. 1 Earth year to decide if they wish to complete the bonding or dissolve it. And if they complete it, then you'll have the first human sanguinari hybrid children in galactic history, Evalera said clinically. Assuming biological compatibility extends that far. Ethan choked on air. Children we just met. The bond doesn't care about your dating timeline, Soraya said. It exists to ensure the strongest genetic combinations. But no pressure, Solera added with a slight smile. 1 crisis at a time. Right. First survive the trials, then worry about alien babies. Ethan rubbed his temples. My life has gotten very weird. If it helps, Hayworth offered, we'll provide you with a full diplomatic team, advisors, cultural experts. No. Ethan surprised himself with the firmness of his response. I appreciate the offer, but surrounding me with handlers will just make me look weak. You are weak, Morrison pointed out, compared to what you'll face. Physically, yes. But that's not the only kind of strength. Ethan looked at Salira. Right. She nodded slowly. The trials test more than combat prowess. Wisdom and heart matter equally. Then I'll face them as myself. Ethan decided. Not as Earth's puppet. If this bond means anything, it has to be authentic. Brave words, Morrison said. Let's see if you maintain that idealism when you're bleeding out on alien sand. Michael, Hayworth warned. No, he's right, Ethan acknowledged. I probably will bleed. Might even die. But at least I'll do it honestly. The meeting continued for another hour, hammering out details, training schedules, medical support, media management, the bureaucracy of potential death. Through it all, Ethan noticed Salira watching him, her expression unreadable. When they finally broke, she approached him. Walk with me. They found themselves on a balcony overlooking the city. New Constantinople sprawled below them, human and alien architecture intertwined like lovers' fingers. You surprised me in there, Salira said. Most humans would have taken any escape offered. Most humans didn't accidentally propose to you. Is that what you think happened, an accident? Ethan turned to study her. In the starlight, her pale skin seemed to glow from within. Are you saying it wasn't? I told you before I could have stopped you. My mother's sensors weren't malfunctioning either. She knew you were approaching our table. She allowed it. Why? Salira was quiet for a moment. Have you ever felt trapped by destiny? Ethan born into a role you never chose. I'm human. We spend our whole lives fighting against or searching for destiny. Sanguinari are different. Our paths are set from birth. Our genetics determine our caste, our role, our potential mates. Everything calculated for optimal outcomes. She gripped the balcony railing. Do you know how many suitors have been presented to me, perfect genetic matches from noble bloodlines? Warriors and scholars and leaders, all ideal on paper. But none of them made me feel... She turned to him. When you kissed me impulsive, reckless, utterly without calculation, it was the first genuine moment I've experienced in decades. Decades? How old are you? 93 Earth years. Ethan blinked. You look 25. Sanguinari age differently. I'm barely considered an adult by our standards. She smiled at his expression. Does that bother you? I don't know. Should it? Is there a handbook for dating immortal space vampires? We're not immortal, just long-lived. And we're not vampires in your mythology's sense. But you do drink blood. We consume life energy, which can be transferred through blood among other methods. But we don't require it from other sentients. Haven't for millennia. Good to know. Ethan leaned against the railing beside her. Can I ask you something? You can ask anything. Do you want this, the bond, the trials, all of it? Or are you just going along because the ritual demands it? Salira considered the question carefully. 3 hours ago, I would have said I was simply following law and tradition. Now, she looked at him. Now I'm curious. You're nothing like what I expected from a human. What did you expect? Arrogance, crude attempts at dominance. Your species has a reputation for believing yourselves the center of the universe. To be fair, we did think that for a really long time. But you're different. You adapt without losing yourself. You face the impossible with humor rather than bravado. She paused, seeming to search for words. You make me want to know more. About humans. About you specifically. She moved closer. Tell me something, Ethan Cole. Something real. I'm terrified, he admitted. Not just of the trials, but of this feeling. Like the universe suddenly makes sense in a way it never did before. Is that the bond talking? Or is it real? Does it matter? Feelings are feelings, regardless of their source.
It matters to me. I've spent my whole life studying the past, keeping safely distant from anything that mattered. Now I'm in the middle of history, and I don't know how to process it.
By living it, Salira said simply, one moment at a time. They stood in comfortable silence, watching ships trace light paths across the sky. Then Ethan's implant chimed. Training starts in 6 hours, he read. I should probably sleep. You should. Tomorrow will be grueling. Any advice?
Don't try to be sanguinary. Don't try to be what you think we want.
She touched his face gently, her fingers cool against his skin.
Be magnificently, stubbornly human. That's what activated the bond.
And if that's not enough, then we'll face whatever comes together. She pulled back. The bond goes both ways. Ethan, you're not alone in this. As she turned to leave, Ethan caught her hand. Salira, thank you for defending me in there. You defended yourself. I simply reminded them to listen. She squeezed his hand. Rest well. Tomorrow, we make you a warrior. Or die trying. Preferably not. I've grown curious about where this path leads. After she left, Ethan remained on the balcony, processing everything. In one night, he'd gone from graduate student to galactic incident, from nobody to the most watched human in history. His implant showed 17,000 messages from friends, family, and media outlets. He deleted them all unread. Tomorrow would bring its own chaos. Tonight, he had a beautiful alien woman's touch lingering on his skin and the memory of starlight in her eyes. For now, that was enough. The training facility was underground, a massive complex that officially didn't exist. Ethan was met by Commander Lisa Park, who looked like she could bench press a hovercar and enjoyed it.
So you're the idiot who kissed an alien vampire, she said by way of greeting.
That's me, though technically, they prefer sanguinari. I prefer not having to train civilians for death matches. But here we are. She handed him a training suit. Put this on. We have 30 hours to make you not embarrass our entire species.
No pressure. Pressure is exactly what you need.
She led him to a room where 6 other instructors waited.
Team, meet our project. By tomorrow night, he needs to survive single combat with warriors who've trained since birth.
Impossible, one of them said.
Improbable, Park corrected.
Which is why we're not going to train him to win. We're going to train him to survive long enough to find an advantage.
What kind of advantage? Ethan asked.
That's what we need to figure out. Strip. Excuse me. Medical scans first. Need to know what we're working with. Park gestured to a scanning bed. The sanguinari aren't the only ones with sensors. Cole, if you're genetically special, we need to know how. The next 6 hours were a blur of tests. Physical, mental, genetic, even psychic, though Ethan showed no aptitude for the latter. By the time they were done, he felt like a laboratory specimen.
Interesting,
Dr. Amanda Richardson mused over the results.
Your muscle fiber density is average, reflex is normal, but your neuroplasticity is off the charts.
Meaning, your brain adapts faster than normal. New neural pathways form at 3 times baseline rate. It's not superhuman, but it explains why you could use sanguinari tech instinctively. So I'm a quick learner. More than that, your entire nervous system is primed for rapid adaptation. Under stress, this ability accelerates. Which means, Park interjected, we can push you harder than normal. Your brain will force your body to keep up.
That sounds painful.
Extremely, but pain is better than death. The physical training was indeed agonizing. They put him through scenarios designed to overwhelm multiple attackers, shifting gravity, atmospheric changes. Each time he failed, they immediately threw him back in. You're thinking too much, Park critiqued after his 15th defeat. Combat isn't academic. React, don't analyze. Easy for you to say, Ethan gasped. ribs aching from the latest takedown. You've trained for this.
No, I've trained for war. This is theater. She helped him up. The arena isn't about killing. It's about spectacle. Use that. How?
You tell me. You're the history major.
How did gladiators survive in ancient Rome?
Ethan thought about it. They played to the crowd, made themselves entertaining enough to be valuable alive. Exactly. You can't outfight a sanguinary warrior, but you might be able to outperform them. The revelation shifted his entire approach. Instead of trying to match his opponent's strength, he focused on misdirection, theatricality, turning violence into art. Better, Park approved, as he managed to last a full minute against 3 holographic opponents. But you're still too defensive. The crowd wants to see courage, not just clever dodging.
I need to attack.
You need to make them believe you can win, even when you can't. Confidence is a weapon. Cole, use it. Between combat sessions, they drilled him on alien physiology, weapon systems, arena layouts. His brain absorbed it all, forming connections and strategies faster than he'd thought possible. The Arena of Stars uses hard light constructs, instructor David Kim explained. Solid enough to kill, but they can be disrupted with the right frequency.
Which I assume my opponents will know. Of course, but knowing and doing under pressure are different things. Your job is to create that pressure.
20 hours in, Ethan's body was screaming, but his mind was sharper than ever. He'd found a rhythm, a fighting style that was uniquely his, part calculation, part improvisation, all human stubbornness. Time for the real test, Park announced. Your sanguinary friends have agreed to a sparring match. Friends might be overstating it, Ethan said, then saw Soraya entering the training room.
Oh no.
Oh yes, Soraya smiled, all predator.
Mother believes you need to understand what you'll truly face. I volunteered.
Of course you did. Weapons or hand-to-hand, Park asked. Both, Soraya decided. He should experience the full range of his inadequacy. Your bedside manner needs work, Ethan told her. This isn't a sickbed. It's a battlefield. She took a combat stance. Begin when ready. Ethan circled her slowly. Everything he'd learned crystallizing. He couldn't match her strength or speed. But he didn't need to. He just needed to survive. He attacked first, knowing she'd expect him to be defensive. His strike was deliberately telegraphed, inviting her counter. When it came, he was already moving, using her momentum against her. It didn't work. She adapted too quickly, but for a split second. He saw surprise in her eyes. Clever, she acknowledged, then moved faster than his eyes could track. The next 30 seconds were painful, but educational. Soraya didn't hold back, showing him exactly how outmatched he was. But she also showed him something else, patterns in her movement, preferences in her attacks. You're learning, she noted, as he managed to dodge 3 consecutive strikes. Good, but learning isn't enough. She swept his legs, and he hit the ground hard. But instead of staying down, he rolled with it, coming up with a training weapon he'd grabbed mid-fall. Now you're thinking like a survivor, Park called out. The sparring continued, brutal and beautiful. Ethan lost every exchange, but each loss taught him something. By the end, he was lasting almost a full minute before Soraya put him down.
You might actually survive the first trial, she said, helping him up. Might.
Your confidence is overwhelming.
Confidence must be earned.
But she was smiling slightly. You're not what I expected. Ethan Cole.
Your whole family keeps saying that.
Because it's true. Most humans would have broken by now. You adapt. It's apparently my superpower, neural plasticity.
It's more than that. She studied him. You don't just adapt tactically. You adapt emotionally. Each setback makes you more determined rather than less.
Stubbornness is definitely a human trait. In your case, it might save your life. She turned to Park. Continue his training, but add unpredictability. The arena won't follow patterns. After she left, Park looked at Ethan with new respect.
You lasted longer than any of us would have.
I got destroyed. Yes, but you got destroyed while learning. That's the difference between a victim and a warrior.
The remaining hours blurred together. More combat, more scenarios, more impossible situations. But with each iteration, Ethan felt himself changing, not becoming superhuman, but becoming more himself, the best version of what a clever, adaptable human could be.
Final assessment, Park announced as the 30-hour mark approached. Full simulation, arena conditions.
The room transformed, becoming a perfect replica of the arena of stars. Ethan found himself standing on a platform suspended in space, stars wheeling overhead. The gravity was lighter than Earth normal, the air thin but breathable. His opponent materialized a holographic sanguinary warrior, fully armed and armored.
Survive for 5 minutes, Park's voice echoed. By any means necessary.
The warrior attacked immediately. No ceremony or warning. Ethan dodged, using the low gravity to leap higher than possible on Earth. But his opponent was used to these conditions, predicting his trajectory.
Think, adapt, survive.
Ethan grabbed a handful of the arena's sandy surface, throwing it in a cloud. The warrior moved through it unbothered, but the particles revealed the hard light constructs forming behind him a trap. He dove sideways, feeling the constructs whistle past. The crowd also simulated roared approval.
Play to them. Make it a show.
Instead of just dodging, Ethan added flourishes, unnecessary rolls, dramatic gestures, turning survival into performance. The warrior seemed confused by the theatricality, hesitating for crucial seconds. 4 minutes. His body was screaming, but his mind was clear. He couldn't win, but he could make losing look good. The warrior cornered him against the arena's edge. No escape. But instead of cowering, Ethan laughed, spreading his arms wide.
"That all you've got?" he shouted to the simulated crowd. "I thought sanguinari were supposed to be impressive."
The warrior paused, possibly programmed to respond to taunts. It was enough. Ethan used the distraction to slide between his legs, coming up behind him.
5 minutes. Simulation complete, Park announced. The arena dissolved. Congratulations, Cole. You might not die tomorrow. That's the nicest thing anyone said to me all day.
Don't get cocky. That was a simulation. The real thing will be worse. I know. Ethan collapsed onto a bench, exhausted but oddly exhilarated. But I also know something else.
What's that?
I'm not going to win by being stronger or faster or tougher. He grinned, tasting blood from a split lip. I'm going to win by being human, unpredictable, adaptable, and too stupid to know when I'm beaten.
Park laughed. Now you're thinking like a warrior. Get some rest. Tomorrow, you make history.
Or become it. Either way, it'll be one hell of a show.
As Ethan limped toward the recovery room, his implant showed a message from Celira. Watching your training footage. Mother is impressed. So am I. Rest well, my unexpected human. He smiled, exhaustion temporarily forgotten. Tomorrow he'd face death in an alien arena for a woman he'd barely met, and a bond he didn't fully understand. But tonight, he was exactly where the universe needed him to be. The arena of stars floated in the void between 3 moons, a testament to engineering that predated most civilizations. Ethan stood in the preparation chamber, trying not to throw up as his body adjusted to the fluctuating gravity fields. The armor is reactive, Evelara explained, making final adjustments to the alien suit that felt like liquid metal against his skin. It'll harden on impact but remain flexible for movement. It won't stop everything, but it might keep you alive. Might, my favorite word these days. Ethan flexed his fingers, watching the armor ripple. Any word on who I'm fighting? The council kept it secret until the last moment, Celira said from across the room. She wore formal sanguinary robes that made her look both ancient
and timeless. But the betting favors a Carathian warrior. They're silicon-based, incredibly strong. And they hate mammals, Soraya finished. Consider it a political statement. If a Carathian kills you, it sends a message about organic-synthetic relationships. Everything's political, Ethan muttered. Can't I just get punched for personal reasons? Not anymore. Velis entered, her presence immediately commanding attention. You represent more than yourself now. Earth, humanity, the possibility of interspecies evolution. Every move you make will be analyzed across 1,000 worlds. No pressure, though. Pressure creates diamonds, Mr. Cole, or crushes carbon into dust. Let's see which you are. Through the transparent wall, Ethan could see the arena filling. Thousands of beings from dozens of species, all here to watch him probably die. His neural implant translated the cacophony of alien languages into a general sense of bloodthirsty anticipation. They're expecting a quick death, he observed. Most are, Evalara agreed. The odds are 40-1 against you surviving the first round. What happens if I do? Then the real trial begins. Combat has 3 rounds, each escalating. Survive all 3, and you pass the first trial. Define escalating. First round single combat, second environmental hazards, third opponent's choice of additional challenge. That seems unfair. Life is unfair, Soraya said. The trials test how you handle that reality. A chime echoed through the chamber. Time. Any last advice? Ethan asked, surprised by how calm he felt. The fear was there, but buried under something else. Determination, insanity. Hard to tell. Remember your training, Solera said, moving close. But more importantly, remember why you're here. Because I kissed you on a dare. No. She touched his face gently. Because against all probability, you're the one who could... That means something, Ethan. Even if we don't understand what yet. Solera, Velis warned. Emotional attachment before the trials. Is exactly what he needs. Solera interrupted. He's human, Mother. They fight better with something to fight for. Another chime, the final warning. Go, Velis commanded. Show them what humanity is capable of. Ethan walked toward the arena entrance, then paused. Hey, what happens if I actually win this thing? Then we'll deal with an even bigger problem, Evalara said. Which is, everyone will want to test themselves against the human who survived the unsurvivable. Great. Looking forward to it. The entrance dilated, and Ethan stepped into starlight. The arena was both more and less than the simulation. The space was vast, a circle of crystallized energy holding atmosphere while the cosmos wheeled overhead. The ground shifted between solid and semi-liquid, responding to movement in ways that defied physics. The crowd's roar hit him like a physical force. His implant tried to translate individual shouts, but gave up, settling for a general sense of kill him in various languages. Citizens of the galaxy, a voice boomed in perfect pan-linguistic harmony. Tonight's trial challenges the ancient laws. A human, Ethan Cole of Earth, has claimed bonding rights with Solera of the Third Bloodline. He must prove worthy, or die in the attempt. Really emphasizing the death part, Ethan muttered. His opponent for the first round, Gorth the Stone Render, 7-time champion of the Carathian battle pits. The crowd erupted as Ethan's opponent entered from the opposite side. Gorth was everything Ethan had feared. 9 feet of crystalline muscle, 4 arms ending in hands that looked like they could crush steel, and eyes that burned with geological patience. Oh, come on, Ethan said to no one in particular. He's literally made of rock. Gorth's voice rumbled across the arena, tectonic plates grinding together. Little meat thing thinks it can mate with the blood drinkers. I will grind your bones to powder and scatter them across the void. That's unnecessarily graphic, Ethan called back, trying to project confidence he didn't feel. What happened to sportsmanship? This is not sport. This is extermination.
Right, good talk.
The starting signal hadn't sounded, but Ethan used the time to study his opponent. Carathians were silicon-based, which meant they thought differently, moved differently. Their literature, yes. He'd actually read Carathian poetry during grad school, emphasized patience, inevitable victory through persistence. Which meant Gorth would expect Ethan to panic, to waste energy in frantic attacks. Time to disappoint him. The signal flared, a column of light that meant begin. Gorth charged with the inevitability of an avalanche. The arena floor cracked under his weight, sending ripples through the semi-liquid sections. Ethan didn't dodge. Instead, he ran straight at the Carathian. A move so stupid it actually made Gorth hesitate for a fraction of a second. It was enough. Ethan dropped into a slide at the last moment, the low gravity letting him pass directly under Gorth's bulk. As he did, he grabbed a handful of the arena's reactive sand and flung it upward into what he hoped were optical organs. Gorth's roar of annoyance told him he'd guessed right. "First blood to the human," the announcer boomed, surprised. "It's not blood," Ethan protested, rolling to his feet. "It's just irritation." "Symbolism counts in the arena." Gorth turned. More carefully now. "Clever meat. But cleverness breaks against stone." "Maybe. But water carved the Grand Canyon, and it started with just drips. Your metaphors will not save you." "No, but they're entertaining the crowd." It was true. The hostile roaring had shifted to something more engaged. They'd expected a slaughter. Ethan was giving them a show. Gorth attacked again, but differently. One set of arms high, one low, covering multiple angles. Ethan gave ground, using the arena's irregular surface to stay mobile, every step calculated, every dodge purposeful. "You delay the inevitable," Gorth growled. "Story of humanity, big guy. We're really good at postponing extinction. Duck, weave, slide." Ethan's training with Park came back. Muscle memory she'd beaten into him. He couldn't match Gorth's strength, but he didn't need to. He just needed to be where the Carathian wasn't. The problem was stamina. Silicon-based life didn't tire like carbon-based. Gorth could maintain this pace indefinitely. Ethan had minutes at best before exhaustion made him sloppy. Time to change the game. Instead of dodging Gorth's next swing, Ethan stepped into it, letting the armor take the impact. Pain exploded through his ribs, but he'd positioned himself perfectly. The force launched him across the arena in the low gravity, turning defeat into tactical repositioning. He landed near the arena's edge, where the hard light barriers flickered between states. His training with Kim had covered this. The barriers operated on specific frequencies, and those frequencies could be predicted if you knew what to look for. "Running away, meat," Gorth taunted, advancing steadily. "Just admiring the view," Ethan gasped, definitely feeling those cracked ribs. "You know, for a rock monster, you're quite graceful." "Mockery is the defense of the weak." "Maybe, but it's also pretty funny." Ethan timed it perfectly. As Gorth charged again, he dove sideways at exactly the moment the barrier shifted frequencies. Instead of solid light, Gorth hit a phase variance. The Carathian passed partially through, his momentum carrying him into the barrier's matrix. Energy crackled as the system tried to reconcile solid matter, occupying the same space as hard light. Gorth screamed a sound like mountains splitting and wrenched himself free, but not unscathed. Fracture lines spider-webbed across his left arms. "Impossible!" someone in the crowd shouted. "The human damaged him." "Technically, he damaged himself," Ethan corrected, loud enough for the audio pickups. "I just provided the opportunity." "You dare use trickery!" Gorth's eyes blazed hotter. "It's not trickery. It's physics. You should try thinking sometime instead of just smashing." The taunt worked. Gorth abandoned strategy, reverting to pure rage. He charged wildly, and Ethan led him on a chase around the arena, always staying just out of reach, forcing the Carathian to expend energy, turning,
stopping, starting again.
The human makes Goreth look foolish, someone laughed.
He dances while the stone stumbles, another added. The crowd was turning. Not supporting him exactly, but enjoying the unexpected entertainment. Ethan played to it, adding unnecessary flips and rolls, turning survival into performance art. "Stand and fight!" Goreth bellowed.
"I am fighting, just not the way you want me to."
5 minutes passed. 10. Far longer than anyone had expected the human to last. Goreth's charges grew sloppier, his damaged arms throwing off his balance. Then Ethan made his first real mistake, dodging left when he should have gone right. He found himself cornered between Goreth and the arena wall. No room to maneuver, no clever escapes.
"Now you die!"
Goreth raised all 4 fists. Time slowed. Ethan's enhanced neural plasticity kicked into overdrive, showing him every possible outcome. They all ended badly.
Unless...
Instead of trying to escape, Ethan charged forward, dropping low. Goreth's fists came down. But Ethan was already inside his reach, too close for the Carathian's bulk to maneuver. And in that moment of closeness, Ethan did something insane. He hugged Goreth. The arena went silent. "What are you doing?" Goreth sounded more confused than angry. "Something you won't expect," Ethan said, then triggered every emergency function in his armor simultaneously. The reactive systems, designed to harden against impacts, went haywire when activated all at once. The armor became a shell of impenetrable energy for exactly 3 seconds before burning out completely. 3 seconds where Ethan was an immovable object pressed against Goreth's center mass. 3 seconds where the Carathian's own strength worked against him, pressure building with nowhere to go. 3 seconds before Goreth reflexively pushed back, using all his considerable might. Physics took over, in the low gravity, with Ethan as an immovable fulcrum. Goreth's push launched him backward at tremendous speed. He hit the far arena wall with a crack that echoed across space. When the dust settled, Goreth was embedded 3 feet into the crystallized barrier, unconscious. The silence stretched for eternity. Then, someone started clapping slowly. Others joined. Within moments, the arena shook with applause and laughter. "Winner of the first round," the announcer sounded stunned.
"Ethan Cole of Earth."
Ethan stood in the center of the arena, armor sparking and useless. Ribs definitely broken, but alive. He raised one fist to the crowd, then promptly collapsed to one knee. "Note to self," he wheezed, "don't hug rock monsters." Medical drones swarmed him immediately. Sanguinary technology already working to repair the damage. Through the haze of pain medication, he saw Salira in the preparation chamber, her expression mixing pride, concern, and something else. "1 down," he muttered. 2 to go. The drones lifted him, carrying him back for the brief respite between rounds. As they did, he heard the crowd's chatter shifting from mockery to speculation. The human had survived. Worse, he'd won through pure audacious stupidity. What would he do next? In the preparation chamber, Evalara worked frantically to repair his armor, while Salira tended his injuries with technology that felt like cool water on burns.
"That was insane,"
Soraya said,
but she was smiling, hugging him. "What possible tactical reasoning?"
"No reasoning," Ethan admitted. "Just desperation and the vague memory of a physics lecture about force vectors. You turned yourself into a pivot point." Evalara realized. Used his strength against him by becoming temporarily unmovable. Brilliant.
"Lucky," Ethan corrected, "and it cost me my armor. I can repair the basic functions, but the reactive systems are fried. You'll have minimal protection for round 2.
What fresh hell awaits in round 2? "Environmental hazards," Velis said, entering with an expression that might have been approval. "The arena itself becomes your enemy."
"Fantastic. Any specific hazards I should know about?"
"That would defeat the purpose. But I will say this, you've surprised everyone, including me." The crowd sees you as more than a sacrifice now. Use that.
How?
By continuing to be unexpected, you've shown them human determination. Now show them human adaptability. The break ended too quickly. Ethan's ribs were healed but tender, his armor patched but vulnerable. He walked back into the arena to find it transformed. The ground now shifted constantly, sections rising and falling like waves. Gravity fluctuated in pockets, creating zones where up became down. Energy storms crackled between pillars that hadn't been there before. Round 2, the announcer declared. Gorath has chosen his champion's right of substitution, facing the human, now Vera 9 of the Synthesis Collective. Oh, fuck me, Ethan said clearly into the audio pickups, earning laughter from the crowd. Vera 9 flowed into the arena, because walked didn't describe how a being of pure energy moved. She was beautiful, in an utterly alien way, a constantly shifting matrix of light and thought. Greetings, Ethan Cole. Her voice came from everywhere and nowhere. I am curious about your neural patterns. Shall we explore them together?
That sounds violating, Ethan replied. Can we just punch each other like normal people?
I have no physical form to punch, and you are far from normal. The arena shuddered, beginning its hazard cycle. The ground beneath Ethan liquefied, but he was already moving, using momentum to skip across the surface before it could swallow him. Vera 9 attacked with pure thought, psychic probes that felt like ice picks in his brain. Ethan screamed, but kept moving, his enhanced neural plasticity providing some defense against the mental intrusion.
Interesting, Vera 9 mused. Your mind adapts even as I touch it. Each probe teaches you resistance.
Great. I'm learning while my brain melts. A gravity pocket caught him, flipping his world upside down. Ethan tumbled through the air, barely avoiding an energy discharge that would have fried him instantly.
Think, adapt, survive. Energy beings had weaknesses. They needed coherence, structure. Chaos disrupted them.
Ethan started moving erratically. No pattern or purpose. Random directions. Random timing. The crowd murmured confusion, but Vera 9's form flickered with annoyance.
Your movements make no sense, she complained.
Welcome to humanity, where we specialized in making no sense for millions of years. The arena floor erupted in geysers of superheated plasma. Ethan rolled between them, using the heat distortion to mask his movements. Vera 9's probes grew less accurate, struggling to target him through the interference.
You use chaos as a shield, she observed. I use whatever works.
But he needed more than defense.
How did you fight something without form?
The answer came as he dodged another hazard, a section of floor that suddenly developed crushing gravity. The energy fields containing Vera 9 fluctuated when she passed through the gravity well. Energy needed stability. Gravity provided chaos. Ethan changed tactics, no longer avoiding the gravity pockets, but leading Vera 9 through them. Each passage distorted her form, forced her to expend energy, maintaining coherence. Clever, she admitted, but I can simply avoid them. Can you? Ethan grabbed a handful of arena sand charged with plasma energy and threw it not at Vera 9, but at the control node he'd spotted during round 1. The node sparked, and suddenly, every gravity pocket in the arena activated at once. The result was chaos, overlapping fields, creating impossible geometries. Spaces where physics gave up and went home. Vera 9's scream was electronic noise as her form stretched across multiple gravity wells. But Ethan had miscalculated. He was caught too, pulled between competing forces that threatened to tear him apart. The crowd gasped as both combatants hung suspended in a web of conflicting gravities. Mutual destruction, the announcer said. If neither can escape. Ethan laughed, blood running from his nose. Hey, Vera, want to know the secret of human survival?
What?
Her voice was strained, fighting to maintain coherence.
We're really good at falling.
He stopped fighting the gravity. Instead, choosing the strongest field and letting it take him. The sudden shift broke the equilibrium, sending him tumbling toward the arena floor at fatal velocity. But he'd trained for this. Low-gravity combat meant understanding momentum. He tucked, rolled, dispersed the impact across his whole body. It hurt gods. It hurt, but he survived. Vera, 9, being energy, had no such option. She remained trapped in the conflicting fields, her form spreading thinner and thinner until she dissipated, returning to the collective's base matrix, alive but defeated. Winner of round 2, the announcer sounded genuinely shocked now. Ethan Cole. This time, when Ethan raised his fist, the crowd's response was immediate and thunderous. He'd beaten a being of pure thought by outthinking her, survived impossible odds through sheer stubborn refusal to die. One more, he gasped as medical drones reached him again. Just one more. The preparation chamber was tense when he returned. His armor was more patch than protection now, his body running on adrenaline and sanguinary medical technology. The third round will be the hardest, Velis warned. Your opponents can choose any additional challenge. Previous champions have added multiple fighters, lethal weapons, even psychological torture. Can't wait. Ethan slumped in a chair. Any chance they'll choose something easy, like a nice game of chess? Unlikely, Celira said. She hadn't left his side between rounds, her presence oddly comforting. You've humiliated 2 champions. The third will want to restore their species' honor. By killing me. By killing you spectacularly. At least I'll go out with style. You're not going to die, Celira said firmly. I won't allow it. Pretty sure you don't get a vote. Then you don't know me very well yet. She touched his face, and he felt a surge of something through the bond. Strength, confidence. Whatever it was, it pushed back the exhaustion. What was that? A reminder, she said. You're not alone. The final call came too soon. Ethan walked back into the arena to find it reset to neutral configuration. No hazards, no tricks. Just open space under stars. The final round, the announcer intoned. The challengers have conferred and chosen their champion. Facing the human in a trial of blood and honor, Matriarch Velis of the Third Bloodline. The crowd exploded. Ethan's brain short-circuited. What? He turned to see Velis entering the arena, moving with the predatory grace of something that had survived eons. You can't. She's on my side. The law allows any champion, Velis said, her voice carrying across the space. And who better to test my daughter's chosen than her own mother? This is insane. This is necessary. Velis took a combat stance that looked older than human civilization. If you would claim my bloodline, prove you can stand against it. I don't want to fight you. Then you'll die. She moved. Ethan had thought Soraya was fast. Velis was speed itself, crossing the arena before his eyes could track. Only instinct saved him, dropping flat as claws passed where his head had been. First lesson, Velis said calmly. Sanguinari respects strength. She kicked him across the arena. Ethan hit the ground hard, his patched armor cracking. He rolled to his feet, spitting blood. Second lesson, we value intelligence. This time he saw her coming. Barely. He tried Park's defensive sequence, but Velis flowed around it like water. Her palm strike sent him flying again. Third lesson, we demand courage. Ethan struggled up, ribs rebroken, armor failing. The crowd had gone silent, watching the systematic destruction of their new favorite underdog. I get it, he gasped. You're stronger, faster, better, but I'm not giving up. Good, Velis smiled, showing fangs. Final lesson, we prize adaptability above all. She attacked again, but this time, Ethan was ready. Not to fight, he couldn't match her, but to survive. He gave ground strategically, using the arena's space, making her work for each hit. You're learning, she approved between strikes. But learning isn't enough.
Then what do you want from me? He dodged another killing blow by millimeters. I can't beat you. I don't want you to beat me. I want you to surprise me. Surprise her. How did you surprise someone who'd lived for millennia? The answer came as she cornered him again. You didn't fight her as a warrior. You approached her as a mother. Instead of defending. Ethan straightened, meeting her eyes. You're not trying to kill me. Oh, she paused, intrigued. You're testing me, but not for strength or speed or even intelligence. He stepped forward, into her reach. You're testing whether I'll protect Salira. Am I? Yes, because every lesson you've taught points to one thing. Survival isn't about individual power. It's about knowing when to fight and when to find another way. And what way would you choose now? Ethan smiled, tasting blood. I choose trust. He dropped his guard completely, arms spread wide. I trust that you want your daughter happy. I trust that the bond activated for a reason. I trust that killing me serves no one. And I trust that beneath all this ceremony, you're curious about what happens next. The arena held its breath. Velas stood motionless, claws extended, poised for a killing strike. Then she laughed. It started soft, building to something that shook the air. She lowered her hands, stepping back. You beautiful, insane human, she said. You faced death with philosophy. Did it work? What do you think? She turned to address the crowd. I yield to Ethan Cole. He has shown strength of spirit, wisdom of purpose, and courage of conviction. The first trial is complete. The crowd's roar was deafening. Ethan swayed on his feet, adrenaline fading, injuries catching up, but he remained standing as Velas approached. That was never about killing me, he said quietly. No, it was about understanding you. She studied him with ancient eyes. You're either the salvation of my people or their doom. I needed to know which. What's the verdict? Ask me after the other trials. She caught him as his legs finally gave out. You've earned your rest, Ethan Cole, and perhaps more. As she carried him from the arena, Ethan heard the crowd chanting his name, not mocking now, but with genuine respect. He'd faced impossible odds and found a way through not with violence, but with humanity. Did I really win? He asked, vision blurring. You survived, Velas said. Sometimes that's the greatest victory of all. Back in the preparation chamber, Salira was there immediately, her hands cool against his burning skin. You absolute fool, she said, but she was crying. Dropping your guard against my mother. Seemed like a good idea at the time. It was brilliant, Evelara said, working to stabilize his injuries. No one has ever won a combat trial without fighting. I fought plenty, Ethan protested. Just not her. You understood the true test, Soraya added with clear approval. Combat isn't always about defeating your opponent. Sometimes it's about understanding them. Great. Do I get a philosophy degree with my near-death experience? You get to live, Velas said, and face the trial of wisdom tomorrow. Can't wait. Will that involve less physical trauma? Probably not, all four Sanguinari said together. Ethan laughed, then winced as his ribs protested. You know what worth it. All of it. Why? Salira asked. Because 6 hours ago, I was nobody. Now I'm the human who hugged a rock monster, outthought an energy being, and philosophized at your mother. He met her eyes. And I got to see you cry for me. That alone made it worthwhile. Careful, she warned, but she was smiling. The trials aren't over. You might still die. Maybe. But I'll die knowing I made the galaxy's most dangerous family laugh. That's gotta count for something. It counts for everything, Velas said quietly. Rest now. Tomorrow. You'll need your mind more than your body. As they helped him to the recovery suite, Ethan caught sight of himself in a reflection. Bruised, bloodied, armor destroyed, but grinning like an idiot.
He'd survived the unsurvivable by being unpredictably human. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. But tonight, he was exactly where the universe needed him to be. The halls of deliberation existed outside normal space, a pocket dimension where thoughts had weight and words could kill. Ethan stood at the entrance, his newly repaired formal wear feeling flimsy compared to yesterday's armor. The trial of wisdom, Evalara explained, making last-minute adjustments to his neural dampener. Unlike combat, there are no clear rules. You might face riddles, debates, or tests of judgment. The only constant is that wrong answers have consequences. What kind of consequences? Varies. Some challengers have been aged decades in minutes. Others had their memories scrambled. One particularly unfortunate soul was transformed into abstract mathematics.
He got better, though, right?
Evalara's silence was answer enough. Remember, Valus said from across the preparation chamber, wisdom isn't just knowledge. It's understanding when to speak and when to listen, when to act and when to wait. Very zen, Ethan muttered, trying to calm his nerves. Yesterday's physical trauma had healed thanks to sanguinary medicine, but the mental exhaustion remained. Any specific advice? Trust your instincts, Salira said. She'd been quieter than usual since the combat trial, watching him with an expression he couldn't read. Human intuition is different from ours. Use that difference. My intuition is what got me into this mess. No, she corrected. Your impulse got you into this. Your intuition has kept you alive. The distinction felt important. But before Ethan could explore it, the entrance chimed. Time. One more thing, Soraya added unexpectedly. The halls respond to confidence. Don't just think you're right, know it. Even if I'm wrong? Especially then. Doubt is poison in that place. Ethan nodded, squaring his shoulders. Right. Be confidently incorrect. I'm excellent at that. He stepped through the entrance and immediately understood why they called it the Halls of Deliberation. Reality was negotiable here. Corridors branching in directions that didn't exist. Rooms that were bigger inside than outside. Stairs that led up and down simultaneously. Welcome, Ethan Cole, a voice said from everywhere and nowhere. You seek to prove wisdom worthy of the third bloodline. I seek to survive whatever weird test you've got planned, Ethan replied honestly. Laughter echoed through impossible spaces. Honesty, refreshing. Very well. Your first challenge awaits. The corridor solidified, leading to a circular chamber where 3 figures waited. Each was shrouded, their features hidden, but their presence pressed against Ethan's mind like weighted blankets. A classic test. The central figure spoke. We 3 are guardians. One always tells truth. One always lies. One answers randomly. You may ask 3 questions total to determine which is which. Choose incorrectly, and your memories of Earth will be forfeit. That's it, Ethan asked. Just the old logic puzzle.
You know it.
Every human philosophy student knows this riddle. It's older than spaceflight. Then solve it. That was the trap, Ethan realized. They expected him to use the classical solution, but something felt off. The way they'd phrased it, the specific wording. Before I ask my questions, Ethan said carefully, I need clarification. When you say one answers randomly, do you mean randomly between truth and lies, or randomly between any possible answers? The figures shifted, perhaps surprised. Randomly between truth and lies, the central one confirmed. And when you say I choose incorrectly, does that mean identifying even one guardian wrong fails the test? Or do I need to identify all 3 correctly? All 3 must be correctly identified. Ethan smiled. They'd just given him information without counting it against his questions. The trial wasn't just about solving puzzles. It was about understanding the rules. First question, he announced. To the guardian on the left. If I asked the middle guardian whether the right guardian was the truth teller, What would the middle guardian say? The left guardian paused. No. Ethan nodded, mind racing through possibilities. The classical solution wouldn't work here because they'd added the random element. But patterns emerged if you thought about it differently. Second question, to the middle guardian. Are you the random answerer? Yes. That was the key. The random answerer could say yes or no to that question, but both the truth-teller and liar had fixed responses. If the middle was the truth-teller, they'd say no. If they were the liar, they'd also say no. Only the random one could say yes. Final question. To the right guardian, is the left guardian the liar?
Yes.
Then, my answer, Ethan announced. Left guardian lies. Middle guardian answers randomly. Right guardian tells truth. The shrouds fell away, revealing three beings of pure light. They bowed in unison. Correctly reasoned, they said together. You may proceed. The chamber dissolved, reforming into a vast library where books flew like birds, and knowledge dripped from the ceiling in liquid streams. Your second challenge, the omnipresent voice announced. A debate that matters. Your opponent has won 1,000 such contests. The topic whether humanity deserves a place among the stellar civilizations. You will argue in favor. Your opponent. A figure materialized across from him, and Ethan's heart sank. He recognized the species axiomites, beings of pure logic who viewed emotion as a weakness and had opposed humanity's inclusion in the galactic community since first contact. I am theorem prime, the axiomite stated, their crystalline form refracting light into mathematical equations. I will demonstrate through irrefutable logic why humanity's chaotic nature makes them unsuitable for cosmic citizenship. And I'm Ethan, who'll apparently be defending my entire species. No pressure. Pressure is irrelevant. Only facts matter. Theorem prime began immediately. Humanity has existed as a spacefaring species for less than 3 centuries. In that time, they have started 17 interstellar conflicts, violated 43 treaties, and caused the extinction of 2 colony worlds through negligence. All true, Ethan admitted, surprising his opponent. We've made mistakes, some terrible ones. But isn't that exactly why we belong here? Clarify. Every species in the galaxy made mistakes during their growth. The Sanguinari had their blood wars. The Carathians strip-mined 3 systems before developing sustainable practices. Even the Axiomites didn't you logic your way into a civil war that lasted 800 years because you couldn't agree on the value of pi's 1,000th digit. That is historically accurate but irrelevant.
It's completely relevant. Growth requires failure. Learning requires mistakes. Humanity's errors aren't proof we don't belong. They're proof we're still evolving. Evolution takes millions of years. Humanity lacks the time to naturally develop cosmic wisdom, which is why we need integration, not isolation. Ethan warmed to his argument. Look at human history. We learn fastest when exposed to new ideas, new challenges. In 300 years of spaceflight, we've adapted technologies that took other species millennia to develop, not because we're superior, but because we're flexible. Flexibility is another term for instability, or adaptability. When the Crimson Plague threatened 7 systems, who developed the cure humans? Because we think laterally. When the Void Hunters attacked the outer colonies, who created the defense grid humans? Because we're paranoid enough to plan for impossible threats? Isolated incidents do not indicate a pattern. Then let's talk patterns. Ethan began pacing. Energy building. Humans are the only species to successfully integrate with every other galactic race. We have humans living on crystalline worlds, working alongside Sanguinari, even meditating with the energy collectives. Why? Because we adapt to others, rather than demanding they adapt to us. That indicates a lack of cultural identity, not strength. Wrong. It indicates our culture is adaptation. We define ourselves not by rigid traditions but by our ability to understand and work with others. That's not weakness. It's the ultimate evolutionary advantage. Theorem Prime's form flickered. Processing. Your arguments are emotionally weighted rather than logically pure. Because emotion matters. Logic without feeling is just calculation. The galaxy doesn't need more calculators. It needs species who can bridge differences, who can find common ground between incompatible worldviews. That's humanity's gift. Prove this assertion. I'm standing here. Aren't I? Ethan spread his arms. A human who kissed a sanguinari on a dare and activated an ancient bonding ritual. By pure logic, that should be impossible. But it happened because humans don't just follow logic, we follow possibility. Possibility without probability is meaningless. Tell that to every scientific breakthrough, every peace treaty, every moment where someone did the impossible because they didn't know it couldn't be done. Humans succeed not despite our chaos, but because of it. We're the random element that prevents the galaxy from becoming predictable. Predictability ensures stability. Predictability ensures stagnation. The galaxy needs chaos agents, species who'll ask why not, instead of just why. We're not perfect, we're necessary. Theorem Prime was silent for 37 seconds, an eternity for an axiomite. Your argument contains logical flaws. Probably, yet it also contains merit. Humans introduce variables that prevent systematic collapse through over-optimization. This is valuable. So we deserve our place. Deserving is an emotional concept. But humanity's inclusion creates more positive outcomes than negative across probable futures. The axiomite bowed precisely. You have argued adequately. The library faded, replaced by a garden where time moved differently in every flower bed. Some blooms aged decades in seconds, while others remained frozen mid-blossom. Your final challenge, the voice announced. A choice that matters. 3 pedestals rose from the ground. On the first sat a vial of liquid starlight. On the second, a book that hummed with power. On the third, a simple mirror. The elixir of ages, the voice explained, will extend your life to match a sanguinari's span. The tome of infinite knowledge will answer any question you ask. The mirror of truth will show you exactly who you are. You may choose one. Choose wisely, for this gift is real and permanent. Ethan approached each pedestal, studying the artifacts. The elixir glowed with promise, centuries of life, time to truly bond with Selira, to see the galaxy change. The tome whispered secrets he could learn anything, solve any problem, become the wisest human alive. The mirror reflected nothing yet, waiting for him to look. What's the catch? He asked. No catch. But each gift carries consequences. The elixir changes not just lifespan, but perspective. Watching loved ones age while you remain young breaks most minds. The tome's knowledge includes truths that destroy innocence. Knowing everything means knowing every horrible possibility. The mirror. The mirror shows truth without mercy. Many who look never recover from what they see. Ethan circled the pedestals, mind churning. This wasn't really about the gifts. It was about what choosing revealed. The elixir showed desire for time. The tome showed hunger for knowledge. The mirror showed what? Can I ask a question before choosing? You may. Why these 3 specifically of all possible gifts? Why these? Because they represent the 3 paths of wisdom, the wisdom of experience, the wisdom of knowledge, and the wisdom of self-understanding. How you choose reveals which wisdom you value most. That was the real test. Not which gift was best, but understanding what the choice meant. Ethan picked up the mirror. Interesting, the voice murmured. Most choose the elixir or tome. Why the mirror? Because the other 2 are escapes, Ethan said, holding the mirror but not yet looking into it. The elixir lets me run from mortality. The tome lets me hide behind knowledge. But the mirror. He looked into it. For a moment, nothing. Then images flooded through not just who he was, but who he could be. Every strength and flaw, every noble impulse and petty thought, every moment of courage and cowardice laid bare. He saw himself as others, saw him Jake and Maria laughing at their impulsive friend, his parents proud and worried in equal measure, Salira watching him with growing fascination. But deeper than that, he saw the core of who he was. A young man terrified of insignificance who hid behind humor. A scholar who studied the past because the future scared him. A person who took stupid bets because at least failing spectacularly was better than never trying. And he saw something else. Potential. Not to become superhuman or all-knowing, but to become fully himself. To stop running from his fears and start running toward his possibilities. "I see," he said quietly, lowering the mirror. "I see who I am. And that's enough. I don't need centuries of life or infinite knowledge. I just need to be authentic, to stop pretending I'm either more or less than what I am." The garden burst into full bloom, every flower opening at once in a riot of color and time. "Wisdom demonstrated," the voice announced with something like warmth. "You chose not the gift that would make you powerful, but the one that would make you whole. The trial is complete." Ethan found himself back at the entrance, where the sanguinari waited. He still held the mirror. Now, just a simple reflective surface. "You chose self-knowledge," Velis observed. "Few have that courage." It didn't feel courageous. It felt necessary. "Same thing, often enough." She studied him with new interest. "What did you see?" "Myself. Flawed and frightened and trying too hard, but also enough. Just enough. That's more wisdom than most achieve in centuries," Evalara said. "The trials are testing you in ways we didn't expect." Speaking of which, Ethan turned to Salira, who'd been silent. "What did you see when we kissed really see?" She met his eyes. Someone who didn't calculate or plan or scheme. Someone who acted on pure impulse and then faced the consequences without trying to escape them. Do you know how rare that is among the stars? Stupidity is rare. Authenticity is rare. You could have denied the kiss, claimed coercion, found a dozen legal ways to void the bond. Instead, you're here, facing trials that have killed champions. Because running felt wrong. Because running felt inauthentic. You'd rather die as yourself than live as someone else. When you put it like that, it sounds almost noble instead of stubborn. Maybe they're the same thing. Soraya cleared her throat. The philosophical discussion can wait. One trial remains, and it's traditionally the hardest. The trial of heart, Velis confirmed. It will test the bond itself, the connection between you, if that connection is false or forced. We die, Ethan guessed. Worse, you live knowing the bond was illusion, that whatever you felt was just biological trickery. That's worse than death. For sanguinari, yes. We mate for life. Ethan, to discover that mating was false would break something fundamental in Salira. No pressure, Ethan muttered, then looked at Salira. What about you? What would it do to you? I don't know, she admitted, but I'm willing to find out. Are you? The question hung between them. Everything so far had been about survival, about proving himself worthy. But this was different. This was about truth between them, connection that went beyond ritual or biology. Yes, Ethan said simply. Whatever comes next, yes. Even if we discover there's nothing real between us, then at least we'll know. That's better than wondering forever. Salira smiled, the expression transforming her face. You really did learn wisdom in there. I learned that I'm tired of being afraid of what might be true. Fear of truth is just another cage. Then, tomorrow, we test our truth, Velis announced. Rest well. The heart trial requires both of you to be whole,
As they prepared to leave, Ethan caught his reflection in a window. Same face, same person. But something had changed. The desperate grad student who'd kissed an alien on a dare was still there, but tempered now by experience.
Hey, Celera called. What are you thinking?
That I should thank Jake and Maria for that stupid bet. Without it, I'd still be hiding in my books, studying other people's adventures instead of living my own.
Do you regret how it happened? The randomness of it?
Ethan thought about it seriously. No, because anything planned wouldn't have been real. We crashed into each other's lives by accident, and maybe that's the only way it could have worked. Chaos theory applied to romance. The universe is chaos. We just pretend there are patterns to feel safe. But the real magic happens in the random moments, the quantum fluctuations where anything becomes possible. Now you sound like a philosopher. God help us all.
They laughed together, the sound echoing through impossible architecture. Tomorrow would bring the final trial, the test of their connection. But tonight, Ethan felt something he hadn't expected: peace. He'd faced combat and survived through adaptation. He'd faced wisdom and found self-knowledge. Now came the heart, and he would face it as himself, nothing more, nothing less, nothing else. The mirror in his hand reflected starlight, and in that light, infinite possibilities waited. The meditation chamber was unlike anything Ethan had experienced. Sanguinari technology created a space where thought became tangible, where emotion had color and weight. The heart trial is different for every pair, Evelara explained, attaching monitoring devices that felt like cool silk against his skin. Some face shared fears, others relive memories. The bond itself determines the test.
Any way to prepare? None. You must be completely open, completely vulnerable. Any defense will register as deception. Great, emotional nudity. My favorite. Ethan. Celera spoke from across the chamber, where she underwent similar preparations. Whatever happens, whatever we see or feel, remember that truth isn't always comfortable. But it's necessary. Velis and her daughters took positions around the chamber's perimeter. Their role was to monitor, to intervene if the trial went catastrophically wrong. Define catastrophically, Ethan asked.
Soul death, Soraya said bluntly. Complete psychic dissolution. It's rare but possible if the bond rejects violently enough.
You really know how to set a mood.
Would you prefer comforting lies?
No, Ethan admitted.
I've had enough of those.
The chamber dimmed, technology withdrawing until only Ethan and Celera remained in a sphere of soft light. She moved closer, and he could see his own nervousness reflected in her violet eyes. Ready? She asked.
No.
No. Perfect. Let's do this anyway.
They joined hands, and the world exploded into sensation.
Ethan felt everything, not just his own emotions, but Celera's too. A double helix of feeling that threatened to overwhelm. Her curiosity about him, tinged with frustration at how he defied easy categorization. His attraction to her, mixed with terror at the implications. Both of them wondering if what they felt was real or just the bond's manipulation. Then the vision started. He saw Celera as a child, the youngest of 4 sisters, always trying to prove herself worthy of her bloodline. The weight of expectation, the careful cultivation of perfect control. Years of suitors presented like business proposals, each genetically ideal, but emotionally vacant. She saw him in return, the middle child, who became invisible by choice, burying himself in books to avoid the messy complexity of real life. The string of failed relationships because he could never quite commit, always holding something back, always ready to run.
We're both cowards, Celera's voice echoed in the shared space.
Different kinds, Ethan agreed. You hide behind perfection. I hide behind imperfection. The vision shifted, showing not past but possibility. futures where their bond flourished children with his adaptability and her strength, centuries of growing together, becoming something new, but also futures where they failed cultural conflicts, tearing them apart. The weight of being symbols crushing their actual relationship. Love turning to resentment.
How do we know which future is true?
Salira asked.
We don't. We choose. That simple?
That impossibly complex. The trial deepened, stripping away layers of pretense. Ethan felt Salira's deepest fear that she was only rebelling against her family's expectations, that choosing him was just another form of running. She felt his terror that he wasn't enough, that when the novelty wore off, she'd see him as the universe did clever, but ultimately insignificant.
You're not insignificant,
she said fiercely. You're not rebelling, he replied with equal conviction. But saying it wasn't enough. The trial demanded proof, evidence from the heart itself. So Ethan opened completely, showing her everything. His awe when he first saw her, before he knew who she was or what kissing her would mean. The moment in the arena when he thought he'd die and his only regret was not getting to know her better. The quiet pride when she defended him to the human diplomats, choosing him over her own kind's expectations. In return, she showed him her truth, the split-second decision to let him kiss her, curiosity overcoming centuries of training, the terror and exhilaration when the bond activated, proving she wasn't broken or defective. The moment she realized he faced the trials not for glory or fear, but because leaving felt wrong to him. It's real, they said together, revelation and relief combined. But the trial wasn't done. Reality established, it now tested depth. Show me your worst moment, the bond demanded through them. Ethan resisted, then surrendered. She saw him at 20, standing over his grandfather's deathbed, unable to say goodbye because emotions were too hard, too real. The old man died while Ethan made jokes, desperately trying to deflect the pain. Salira shared her own darkness the day she'd nearly killed a suitor who grabbed her without permission. Losing control so completely, her mother had to physically restrain her. The shame of realizing she had her family's capacity for violence. The fear that she was monster pretending at civilization. We're all monsters pretending, Ethan said softly. That's what civilization is, choosing to be better than our worst impulses. You don't fear me even seeing that.
I fear the version of you that hides it more.
At least the monster is honest. The bond pulsed between them, testing, probing, searching for deception and finding none. They were flawed, frightened, carrying baggage from different worlds. But they were also choosing each other with full knowledge. No illusions about perfection. Final test, the bond whispered. Show each other what you need most. This was harder than sharing darkness. Vulnerability about needs felt more exposed than any confession of sins. Ethan went first, showing her his desperate need to matter, to leave some mark on the universe that said he existed. Not fame or glory, just significance. Someone who would remember him completely, good and bad together. Salira revealed her own need to be chosen for herself, not her bloodline or genetics or what she represented. To be loved by someone who had other options, but picked her anyway, freely, and knowing the cost. I can do that, Ethan said. Remember you completely. Choose you freely. If you can handle my need to occasionally do something stupidly dramatic to feel alive.
I did fall for you because of a stupid dramatic gesture, she pointed out. It would be hypocritical to complain now.
The bond flared. Not testing now, but celebrating. It had found what it sought. Not perfect compatibility, but honest choice. Two people seeing each other clearly and deciding to try anyway. The chamber reformed around them. They were themselves again, but changed. The connection remained, not overwhelming now, but present. A warm thread between their minds that would always exist. Judgment, Velis announced formally. The bond is true. The trials are complete. Ethan Cole has proven worthy of the third bloodline's daughter. More importantly, Evalara added with a smile, they've proven worthy of each other. So what happens now? Ethan asked, still holding Celira's hands. Now, Velis said. The real challenge begins. You've proven you can face trials. Can you face normal life? Can you bridge two cultures, two species, two sets of expectations? Can you handle my mother visiting for holidays? Soraya added with wicked humor. Can you survive family dinners where half the food might be toxic to humans? Evalara continued. Can you accept that your children will be neither fully human nor fully sanguinari but something new? Celira asked. The most serious of all. Ethan looked at each of them. This alien family that had tested, challenged, and ultimately accepted him. Then at Celira, who was smiling despite the overwhelming future they faced. I have absolutely no idea, he said honestly, but I'm excited to find out. That might be the wisest answer you've given yet, Velis observed. Wisdom, courage, and heart all demonstrated. The trials end in success. There's just one problem, Ethan said. I need to tell my parents I'm engaged to an alien vampire princess I met 3 days ago in a nightclub. 4 days, Celira corrected. And I prefer sanguinari nobility. That's not going to make the conversation easier. Nothing about our relationship will be easy, she said. But easy is overrated. Says the woman who can bend steel. Says the man who survived 3 trials meant to kill him through sheer stubborn humanity. They were still arguing playfully as they left the chamber, the bond humming between them like a song only they could hear. Behind them, Velis watched with an expression that might have been satisfaction. You knew, Evalara accused quietly. When he approached in the nightclub, you knew the bond would activate. I suspected, Velis corrected. His genetic markers were unusual, but knowing and testing are different things. You could have warned them. And robbed them of authentic choice? No. The bond works only when both parties choose freely, without calculation. She smiled. Besides, I was curious what kind of human would kiss my daughter on a dare. And your verdict? He'll do. He's no warrior or scholar or leader in traditional senses, but he's adaptable, genuine, and makes Celira laugh. In the end, perhaps that matters more than perfection. The council won't see it that way. The purists are already mobilizing. Let them come, Velis said. And for a moment, the ancient predator showed through. They'll find the third bloodline ready, and our newest member more dangerous than they expect. Because he's strong, because he's unpredictable, and he has something worth fighting for now. In the distance, Ethan's laughter echoed through alien architecture as Celira demonstrated exactly how her species traditionally showed affection. Apparently, it involved a lot more biting than human customs. Should we warn him about the mating ceremony? Soraya asked. Let him enjoy his victory first. Velis decided. He'll learn soon enough that the trials were the easy part. The assassination attempt came during breakfast. Ethan had just bitten into something Celira assured him was mostly non-toxic to humans when the dining room window exploded inward. His newly enhanced reflexes, a gift from the bond, kicked in before his brain caught up. He tackled Celira sideways as a plasma bolt seared through where her head had been. Really? He shouted at their attackers. During breakfast, have you no sense of timing? 6 figures in tactical armor repelled through the shattered window. Not void hunters this time. Their movements were too precise, too coordinated, military-trained. Celira of the third bloodline, the lead attacker announced, weapon trained on them. By order of the Purity Coalition, your contamination of our species ends now. Contamination. Celira rose gracefully, despite Ethan's attempt to keep her down. Is that what they're calling love these days? Love between species is biological warfare, the soldier spat. You would dilute our perfect genetics with this human. Hey,
Ethan protested. I'm right here. Also, perfect genetics. You sound like space Nazis. The soldier's weapon swung toward him, but Soraya's blade intercepted, severing the barrel in a shower of sparks. She'd appeared from nowhere, moving with lethal grace. 6 against 2 hardly seems sporting, she observed. Let's even those odds. The battle erupted with calculated violence. Soraya flowed between attackers like deadly water, while Salira demonstrated why Sanguinari were apex predators on any world. Ethan, lacking their superhuman abilities, did what humans did best. He improvised. Grabbing a chair, he smashed it over one attacker's head. When that only dented their helmet, he went for the joints, jamming chair legs into armor gaps. It wasn't elegant, but it was effective. Behind you, Salira warned. Ethan spun, finding himself face to face with a plasma rifle. Time slowed, the bond flooding him with Salira's perception speed. He could see the trigger depressing, the energy building in the chamber. Then Evalara's voice cut through the chaos. Temporal displacement in 3, 2. The attackers froze mid-motion, caught in a localized time bubble. Evalara stood in the doorway, holding a device that hurt to look at directly. Interrupting breakfast is unforgivable, she said calmly. Soraya, would you mind? My pleasure. Soraya efficiently disarmed and bound the frozen attackers. Sanguinari military, from their biosigns. The Purity Coalition has gone official. This is just the beginning, Ethan realized. They're not going to stop. No. Valus entered, having watched the entire fight without intervening. They're not, which is why we need to accelerate plans. What plans? Ethan asked, then noticed everyone was looking at him strangely. What? You're bleeding, Salira said softly. He looked down to find 3 parallel gashes across his chest, deep enough to need medical attention. Adrenaline had masked the pain, but now it hit like a freight train. Oh, he said intelligently, then collapsed. He woke in the medical suite to find Salira holding his hand, her eyes glowing with suppressed fury. If you ever try to protect me again, she started. I'll do it every time, Ethan interrupted. Deal with it. I'm the warrior here. I'm supposed to protect you. We protect each other. That's how partnerships work. She wanted to argue. He could feel it through the bond. But something in his expression stopped her. You're learning our medicine quickly, she said instead, gesturing to his healed chest. No scars. Sanguinari medical technology is incredible. Though I could have done without the nanobots restructuring my tissue while I was conscious. Most humans can't stay conscious through that process. Most humans aren't bonded to someone who can share pain management techniques through psychic connection. You felt my techniques. I felt everything. Your fury, your fear, He paused. You were terrified. I've trained for combat since childhood. I've never been terrified in a fight. You weren't scared of the fight? You were scared for me. Salira looked away. The bond complicates things. Or clarifies them. Before she could respond, Valus entered with the human diplomatic team in tow. Director Hayworth looked haggard. General Morrison looked furious. And someone new, a woman in medical attire, looked fascinated. Dr. Elizabeth Chen. The woman introduced herself. Xenobiology specialist. I'm here to study your bond. Study, Ethan sat up straighter. Like we're lab rats. Like you're the first successful human-alien neural bonding in recorded history, Chen clarified. Do you understand the implications you're sharing consciousness across species barriers that should be impermeable? It doesn't feel that revolutionary. It just feels right. That's what's revolutionary. Your brain has adapted to process sanguinary thought patterns without rejection. Hers has done the same with human cognition. You're becoming something new. No pressure, Ethan muttered. Pressure is exactly what we have, Morrison interjected. The attack this morning was sanctioned by 3 sanguinary noble houses. They're calling for the bond to be severed. Which is impossible without killing both participants, Evalara added. They know this.
So they're calling for our execution with extra steps. Ethan summarized. Charming. It's worse than that, Hayworth said. Earth's isolationist faction is using this as evidence that integration was a mistake. There are calls to withdraw from the Galactic Council entirely.
Over one kiss, Ethan couldn't believe it.
Over what that kiss represents, Valus corrected. Change. Evolution. The end of species purity as a concept. You've become a symbol, whether you wanted it or not.
I really didn't.
Too bad, Morrison said bluntly. Because in 6 hours, you're addressing the full council, both of you.
Addressing them about what?
Defending your right to exist, Hayworth explained. The Purity Coalition has called for judgment. They claim the bond is unnatural, forced, a violation of biological law.
How do we defend against that? By telling the truth, Salira said firmly. By showing them what we are.
Which is the future, whether they're ready or not. The council chamber existed in neutral space, a massive sphere where representatives from every member species could gather. Ethan stood at the center podium, feeling very small and very human as hundreds of alien eyes studied him. Honored representatives, he began, his voice amplified by technology he didn't understand. 5 days ago, I was nobody, a graduate student who spent more time reading about history than making it. Then, I kissed Salira of the third bloodline because my drunk friends dared me to. Murmurs rippled through the assembly. Honesty wasn't common in political speeches. That kiss activated something nobody expected: a compatible bond between human and sanguinari. Since then, I've been tested, attacked, studied, and politicized. But nobody's asked the important question: why does this terrify you so much? You dare, someone shouted from the Carathian section. I dare because I have nothing to lose, Ethan interrupted. I'm already targeted for death by purists on both sides. So let me speak truth in this chamber of politics. He took a breath, feeling Salira's presence beside him, her hand finding his. You're terrified because we prove your categories are lies. Human, sanguinari, Carathian, axiomite. These are just labels we use to pretend we're fundamentally different. But look at us. He raised their joined hands. We're proof that love transcends species. That connection goes deeper than DNA. Pretty words, the axiomite representative interjected. But biological compatibility doesn't equal social viability. Your cultures are incompatible. Are they both species value family, honor, achievement? We express them differently, but the core remains the same. Every species in this chamber shares fundamental values. That's why the council exists. The human makes a point, someone observed from the crystalline section. The human is naive. The lead Purity Coalition representative stood. Ethan recognized him from intelligence briefings, Lord Vex of the First Bloodline, Valus's political rival. He speaks of love as if it conquers all. But what of the children such unions would produce? Neither human nor sanguinari, belonging nowhere. Belonging everywhere. Salira spoke for the first time. Lord Vex, you speak of purity as strength. But what is pure water stagnant? It's the mixing of elements that creates life. Philosophy from a child, Vex dismissed. Your mother should have taught you better. I taught her to think for herself, Valus said from the gallery. A lesson you never learned. Hiding behind traditions, centuries dead. Traditions that kept our species strong. Traditions that keep our species dying, Evalara interjected, standing. May I present data to the council? At the council's approval, holographic displays filled the chamber, genetic diversity charts, population projections, extinction curves. Every species here faces the same problem, Evalara explained. Genetic bottlenecking from centuries of controlled breeding. The sanguinari have perhaps 50 generations before critical failure. The Carathians, less. Even humans, with our relatively chaotic breeding patterns, show concerning trends. Your point, Vex demanded.
Ethan and Selira aren't anomalies. They're evolution's answer. The fact that their bond activated suggests our genetic imperatives are already pushing toward integration.
Abomination! Someone hissed.
Adaptation, Ethan corrected. Look at Earth's history. Every time populations mixed, civilizations advanced. The Renaissance, the digital revolution, the stellar expansion, all followed periods of cultural integration.
Human history is barely a footnote, Vex argued.
Then, look at your own, Ethan challenged. When did sanguinary culture flourish? During the Blood Wars, when you isolated, or during the Great Opening, when you traded freely? Silence. The answer was obvious to anyone who knew history. I propose a different question. A new voice spoke. The Void Ambassador, whose species existed partially in another dimension. Not whether these two should bond, but whether we can afford to prevent it. Explain, the council chair requested.
We've all sensed it.
The universe is changing. New threats emerge from spaces between spaces. Old enemies unite against common dangers. We need evolution, not stagnation.
You support this mixing? Vex sounded appalled.
I support survival. If that means my children might bond with corporeal beings, so be it. Better adaptation than extinction. The debate raged for hours. Ethan and Selira stood at the center, weathering accusations and arguments. Through it all, their hands remained linked, the bond humming between them like a promise. Finally, the council chair called for order. We will vote. All in favor of recognizing the Cole-Selira bond as legitimate. Hands, tentacles, energy fields, and other appendages rose. Ethan counted frantically. It would be close. All opposed. More appendages. Too many to easily count. Abstentions. A significant number. Fence-sitters waiting to see which way the wind blew. The chair computed results with mechanical precision. By a margin of 7 votes, the motion passes. The bond is recognized. The chamber erupted. Celebrations from progressives, fury from purists. Vex stood, his expression murderous.
This isn't over, he promised. You've won a battle, not the war.
Then we'll win the war too, Selira replied calmly. One heart at a time. As security escorted them out, Ethan heard something that made him smile. Young voices from various species asking questions. Could I bond with a human? Are there other compatible species? How do you apply for cultural exchange? You hear that, he murmured to Selira. The sound of walls crumbling. The sound of the future arriving. Back at the Sanguinari compound, the family gathered for what Ethan learned was a rare event, a celebration. You did well, Velas told him, offering a glass of something that glowed. Few could face the full council and speak so plainly. I figured elaborate speeches wouldn't help. These people beings, whatever. They've heard centuries of rhetoric. Maybe they needed some human bluntness. It was more than that, Soraya observed. You made them see themselves in you. The struggling student, the young man in over his head but trying anyway. You made human relatability a weapon. I prefer to think of it as building bridges.
Same thing, different perspective.
Evalara approached with a data pad.
I've been analyzing the vote patterns.
The younger representatives overwhelmingly supported you. It's the older generations clinging to separation. Time is on our side then, Selira said. If we survive that long, Ethan added. Vex didn't look ready to accept defeat. Vex has been waiting for an excuse to challenge our bloodline for decades, Velas explained. You've given him one. He'll come at us through law, through force, through any means available.
Bring it on, Ethan said, surprising himself with the confidence. I've fought rock monsters and energy beings and survived council politics. How much worse can it get?
Never ask that question. All 4 sanguinary women said simultaneously. Right, tempting fate, human weakness. Speaking of human weaknesses, Selira said with a smile that made him nervous.
Mother mentioned something about a mating ceremony. Ethan choked on his glowing drink. A what now? Did I forget to mention Velus's innocence was entirely feigned? The trials proved your worth. The council recognized your bond. Now comes the formal joining ceremony, which involves— Oh, nothing much, Soraya said with wicked amusement. Just public vows in front of both species representatives. Ritual combat between groomsmen. A feast where half the food might kill you. And a consummation ceremony that— Stop! Ethan held up a hand. I just survived assassination attempts and political warfare. Can we maybe tackle one impossible thing at a time? But planning will take months, Evalara added. Coordinating human and sanguinary traditions alone could take years. Or, Salira suggested, we could do what we do best, which is make our own rules. She turned to her mother. The old ceremonies were designed for political alliances. This isn't that. What is it then? Velus asked, though her smile suggested she knew. It's two people who found each other through impossible odds deciding to face the universe together. We don't need elaborate rituals for that. Just a party with beings who support us, Ethan added. Family, friends. Anyone brave enough to celebrate the future instead of fearing it. A revolutionary wedding for a revolutionary couple, Evalara mused. I like it. It would infuriate the traditionalists, Soraya pointed out. Even better, Ethan and Salira said together, then laughed at their synchronicity. The bond grows stronger, Velus observed. Soon you'll be finishing each other's sandwiches, Ethan suggested. Sentences, Salira corrected, then paused. Though sandwiches too. I've developed a strange craving for peanut butter since we bonded. And I can't stop thinking about blood wine. Fascinating, Evalara grabbed her scanner. Cross-species preference transfer. I need to document this. As she chased them around with medical instruments, Ethan reflected on how much had changed. Less than a week ago, his biggest worry was finishing his dissertation. Now he was bonded to alien royalty, targeted by supremacists, and apparently planning an interspecies wedding. Regrets? Salira asked quietly, sensing his thoughts. None, he answered honestly. Well, maybe one. What? I bet Jake and Maria 50 credits I couldn't get a date this month. They're never going to let me live this down. You consider this a date. The most elaborate date in human history? Dinner, dancing, 3 trials of death, political upheaval, assassination attempts, really? You've set an impossible standard for our anniversary. Our anniversary, she repeated, tasting the words. I like how that sounds. Get used to it. If these purists want to separate us, they'll have to go through me. And me, Soraya added. And me, Evalara chimed in. And the full might of the third bloodline. Velus concluded. You're family now. Ethan, we protect our own. Family. The word settled into his chest like warmth. Not the family he'd been born to, but the one he'd chosen, or that had chosen him. So, he said, looking at these incredible, terrifying, wonderful beings who'd accepted him. Who's telling my mother about the wedding? The laughter that followed echoed through the compound, a sound of joy and defiance combined. Outside, the galaxy wrestled with change. Purists plotted, progressives planned, and the future hung in balance. But inside, a human and 4 alien vampires argued about wedding decorations and whether peanut butter counted as a traditional sanguinary food group. It was ridiculous, domestic, and perfect. The revolution, Ethan realized, wouldn't come through grand gestures or political maneuvering. It would come through moments like this, different species becoming family. One laugh at a time. Hey, he said suddenly. What do sanguinary bachelor parties involve? The predatory grins that answered made him immediately regret asking. Never mind, I don't want to know. Too late, Soraya said cheerfully. Hope you're good with heights. Heights. Why would no? Whatever you're planning. No. But he was smiling as he said it. And through the bond, he felt Salira's matching joy. Whatever came next, vengeful purists. Impossible politics. Apparently aerial bachelor parties, they'd face it together. The future was uncertain, but it was theirs. And that was enough.